Hello, everyone. Welcome to Y Media Group. I am your host, Shelly Sani. Joining me for this special conversation is Shanu Pandey. Now, Shanu Pandey was traveling from New Delhi, India to Toronto, Canada, along with her father and her mother in law. It was September 10th. The plan was to spend some beautiful time, make wonderful memories with parents in Canada who had recently received their permanent residency. They were on their way. But did everything happen as per the plan? Unfortunately, no. Shanu lost her father on that fateful flight. Now, what really happened? I will let Shanu tell us. First of all, Shanu, thank you so much. It's a difficult time. Thank you for speaking to us and our heartfelt condolences and sorry for your loss.
Yeah, thank you, Shali, for having me. First of all, yeah, it's a very emotional and a traumatic episode that has happened with me. And thank you to Y Media for helping me spread the awareness. I want to bring justice to the unfortunate passing of my father that happened on the fateful flight AC051 of Air Canada that was bound from Delhi to Toronto via Montreal. As you mentioned, my dad had got his PR recently, and so had my mother in law. So it was a double celebration in our house. And, the PR first, like the letter came from Government of Canada in September 2021. So it took us 2 years and 2 years of grueling efforts to file like everything, get everything done, their paperwork, their biometrics, their medical, and finally, buy a ticket and make them land here in this country because we wanted our parents to live with us. So on the fateful day of September 10, 2023, I, with my mom-in-law and my father, boarded the Air Canada flight AC051 from the New Delhi airport. And the flight that was to start at 11:40 p.m. started at 12:20 p.m. Sorry, 12:20 a.m. And everything went smoothly because my husband had booked, extra leg airspace speeds seats, like they have the extra leg space by giving them some like 300 something dollars more. So one ticket per person one way was costing more than $1,500 for each person. So this is the cost of one way ticket that I'm telling you. Why I'm telling you the cost of the ticket is because I just want to tell you that, despite giving so much, like expending so much, what kind of support we get from the airlines. So it was a 16-hour flight from New Delhi to Montreal. Then we had a halt in Montreal for 3.5 hours, and then it was a connecting flight from Montreal to Toronto, which was our final destination. So everything went well smoothly for the first 7 hours. My dad, me, and my mother-in-law, we were sitting on those seats. My mother-in-law was on the window seat. My dad was in the middle seat, and I was on the aisle seat. And none of us had dinner in the flight because we had already eaten dinner at 9 p.m. In the Delhi airport in the lounge. And then then my dad and my mom-in-law and all of us retired for the night, and we were almost dozing off. So, and everybody in the flight, they had eaten their dinner, and the passengers were dozing off too. This is 7 hours after the flight had started. So suddenly, what my father said, he just held his chest tight and he had the very grumbling noises to make. So this was 7 hours from Delhi, almost 7 hours. And then, and he was like drooling on one side and his hand like was also like, so I thought, he's having a stroke. So my mom-in-law who was sitting next to him on the window seat, she said, this is not stroke, this is a heart attack. Why? Because she herself is a heart patient, my mom-in-law, and my father-in-law was a heart patient who had passed like a long time back. I have not even seen my father-in-law, so she's aware like what are the symptoms. So I was like panicky because my dad was extremely healthy person. He had no health issues. I mean, I would say that he was more healthy than me and my sister. We are two sisters.
Mhm.
I have a younger sister. He used to wake up at 5:30 in the morning every day. He used to do reverse walking for good, say, 10 minutes every day. Then he used to do his breathing exercises, yoga, and he had a very fixed routine. He had no heart issues, no diabetes, nothing. So, him getting a heart attack, I could not understand like what's happening. So when my mom-in-law told that he's having a heart issue, you rush and call somebody. So I went to the end of the air, like at the back of the aircraft where the crew was, because as I told you, it was night time and everybody had retired for the bed after eating dinner. So the crew came with me. I said, my dad is having an issue. You come with me, and I think it's a heart trouble. So the crew came with me that time, and I, unbuttoned his shirt and I like loosened his clothes, removed his belt and all, and I started rubbing him on the chest. So they also started, yeah, and before that, yeah, he was also puking. He had started throwing up. Yes. So I told crew all the symptoms that he's having all this. So the crew also came and they sat right in front of him. And because I told you it was an extra space, it was an like a seat with an extra space, and they started communicating with him. So he said, "Yeah, I'm having a very deep chest pain." And by this time, he had even lost the control of his bowel movements, and he had like peed in his pants. So I mean, later I read that all these are the symptoms of heart attack. That time I did not understand, but the crew who are like trained first aiders and all that, they were able to understand that he's having a heart trouble. I will tell you how. This I will tell you later. And then and then my dad said, I said, Dad, what is happening to you? He's saying that I want to go to the washroom. So I said, okay, because he wanted to go and like for the bowel movement to the bathroom. And then I tried to lift him. I just said, okay, then let's go to the bathroom or let's go. But he could not get up because he was so weak in his legs and everything in his body. And at that time, the crew, he went and got a wheelchair for him. And then we put him with the help of the crew. I and the crew put him on the wheelchair and we pulled him and took him to the bathroom. So, and in the bathroom, we made him sit on the toilet. And there he sat for good, say, 20, 25 or minutes or half an hour, and he relieved himself. But because like in the process of doing that, removing his pants, because he could not do, some of his clothes also got soiled, which he did not realize because he was like losing in and out consciousness.
Mhm.
So after this, then I asked him, "Ki, Dad, like, are you okay? Like, if you're done, then I need to, let's go back to the seat and we need to relax." Then he said after like 30 minutes, okay, I'm good to go now. And then he said that, like I said, okay, you can come with me, I will take you to the seat. But then again, he was so weak in his limbs, so he was not able to get up. So at this point, I asked the crew members that, I need your help, because he had soiled his clothes also, which he did not realize. And then I had to shift him to the wheelchair. So one of the crew members plainly told me on my face that, I have a back problem, I cannot do that. So I, looked around and I said to, yeah, so that was very rude. And then I told, there was another tall guy, but he did come to my help. He was a steward too. So he held my dad from under his arms and in the bathroom only. And then, I just tried to remove his clothes and tried to wipe him. So this process took whole, say, because he had soiled himself, so this process took almost another 20-25 minutes. So why I'm telling you this? So I'm telling you the timeline, because 15-20 minutes he was on the seats, half an hour he was in the bathroom, half an hour he was like I took to wipe him. So the whole process took around more than 1.5 hours,
Yeah.
almost 1.5 hours. And throughout this, I had been telling crew that my dad is not well and please divert the flight. Because he is not well, he needs a medical attention. I could gauge, and because my mom-in-law told me that he's having a heart trouble. So that time the crew told me when he was being taken to the toilet, the crew told, yes, we will speak about it. We will speak about it. And then when he was in the bathroom again, when he was relieving himself again, I told the crew that, please divert the flight because we need to have an emergency landing. He's like not well and he's puking also. Again, the crew told me, okay, we are, we are having a word, we are having a word. And then when I like finally put him, like when I cleaned him and again I put him on the wheelchair, the crew told me that time that we are transporting him to the first class, business class cabin. So I said, okay, thank you. So why I'm telling you that, because they thought that if they are doing and transferring him to business class cabin and all that, so that is something that a favor that they are doing on me. Then they put him on the business class cabin. They made him lie flat. And again, I asked them, I said, what about diverting the flight? So that time they told me that, we are not able to divert the flight. So I was like shocked. I said, after 1.5 hours, they're telling me this, that they're not able to divert the flight. I said, but why? I said, why? And by this time, my dad, who was lying on the cabin, on the signature class cabin, he told me that I'm having a severe backache. He had developed a severe backache by that time. So I told them, you see that his condition is not improving. He is in the bathroom. Now he was having a chest pain. Then he's on now he's having a back pain. He is throwing up. Do you Why are you not diverting the flight? So they are saying that it is not our responsibility, it is the say of the pilot. So I told them, you take me to the pilot, I want to talk to him. So he's saying the pilot is in the cockpit, you can't go there. So I said that I'm going to knock the cockpit door and I'm going to ask him. So at that time there were four crew members, they were hovering over me, and my dad is lying next to me in the business class cabin, and he's calling out my name. He's saying, Shanu, Shanu, you come, you like, I'm like I'm having a severe backache, please help me. So I said, and at that time the crew is saying to me that, if you go to the pilot and if you go and knock the cockpit, we are going to put you at the end of the plane and you even can't be with your dad. So imagine my condition. Here he's my ailing father, he's calling out my name, he is like on and off conscious. He knows what is happening. So I have to argue with them and I have to cater to his needs. So that point of time, I told them, you show me where the plane is right now. Because at that mind, I thought maybe the plane is on the ocean and they're not able to land it. So at that time, the plane was on Ireland. So it was very well on Europe. And 2 hours before that, like when the whole episode was happening, the plane was on Central Europe. So for 2 hours they had full time to land the plane, and they were just postponing things. So like telling me, okay, we are talking about it, we are talking about it. They thought that once the plane comes on the ocean, then they can't land it. But thankfully, I saw the trajectory, and that time the plane was on Ireland. But there was no point talking to them. And then and at that point, my mom-in-law, and she came and gave him sorbitrate that he was like, she was carrying for him, for herself, because she, as I told you, she's a heart patient. And then the crew, after that, when I said that he's like having a chest pain and all, and he's having a back pain, puking, they got him an aspirin. They got him an aspirin, and I said he cannot have aspirin because he's allergic to it. That is the only help I got from crew. And again, he was, because he was complaining of severe chest, like back pain. So I had a gel on my in my purse. My mom-in-law had a gel on her purse that 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 I got, and I started rubbing on his back. At that time, one of the air hostess, her name is Glendy, I still remember, she came and she said, you cannot apply this gel on your dad's back. I said, why? She's saying that, if you do that, you are, like counter, are like, what, like, this does not go well with our doctors on ground, which the pilot is communicating with. So I said, where is your doctors? What are they saying? They are not giving any medical aid, nothing. And my dad is having such a severe backache. You're not even letting me apply a gel. It is just like Voltron. Then at that point of time, she took the gel from my hand. She took it to the pilot. Yes. Because, and at that time also, I was very, very, like I said, there is no point arguing with this crew. Let them do whatever, because I need to be focused on my dad now. So, she took the tube from my hand and she took it to the pilot. She did come back in 2 minutes after discussing it with pilot. I don't know what all she discussed. She discussed the ingredients or not. And then she said, okay, you're fine to, apply this. I applied the gel, but because it was a heart pain, because the back pain was because of heart, it 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 didn't do him any good. Again, I requested the crew. I said, "Can you see his condition? He's having a severe backache. Do you have something on you that can help him?" At that point, she got 3 Tylenols, and she said that you give these Tylenols to your dad. So Tylenol is just like, acid, like whatever, it is a very small dose. What will it do to relieve a person of a heart trouble? It was just a temporary thing that they were giving to while away the time. I gave him I gave him Tylenol, and it did relieve him of back pain after some time, after say half an hour or so. And at this point of time, my mom-in-law, she requested the crew to make, because I was so much in shock, I was so much in trauma, I had like lost it. I said, what should I do now? So that point of time, my mom-in-law, asked my mom-in-law, who herself is 83-year-old, she asked the crew to make an announcement on the plane. She said, please announce if there is a passenger who is a doctor on board. Because before that, I even asked the crew, I said, you don't have anyone like a paramedic or a doctor, like who is there in the flight? So she's saying, no, there is no paramedic, there is no doctor. I said, a 16-hour long flight, you are charging so much for one way ticket, you don't have any doctor on board or any paramedic, your airlines? She said, it's not a rule, and we are trained first aid trainers. That's what she told me that time. I said, fine. And that point of time, my mom-in-law said that you make an announcement about a passenger being a doctor. And that time, they made a announcement saying that the person is having a heart trouble, and is there a passenger who can help? So they very well knew that my dad is having a heart trouble. Still, they did not divert the blame. That is my thing. And they were seeing, and he's throwing up all the time. So all these symptoms later I discussed with doctors, and they all said that it is like symptoms of heart attack. And if you are first aid trainers, the crew is telling me, we are first aid trainers, and you don't know that the person is like he's having heart trouble, and there are 9 hours into the flight. Will a person survive or not? So
Mhm.
they just left him to die. They just left him to die. They very well knew that he's having a heart trouble. And after that, they were gone. After they gave him Tylenol, they gave him the signature class cabin, first class cabin, and they gave me the adjacent seat. Like, they thought that their moral duty is over. And then after that, I because my dad was like constantly shivering, then he started shivering after some time. And I was like, I said, whom should I help ask for help? Then I that time I called the air hostess, and I said, you have to give me permission to call my husband back home, who is in Toronto, and people back home. I need to tell the condition of my dad. So that time they give me the permission to do texting.
Okay.
And then I started sending WhatsApp messages to my husband, who was in Toronto, then my sister, who was in Bangalore, India, and my cardiologist cousin, who lives in Bhopal. So all three of them, they told me that you have to take the vital stats of your dad. By vital stats, you mean the BP, the oxygen, and the pulse. None of the crew members had told me to check. They never even took his vital stats. So my question is, like, if you are a trained first aider, and a person is having a like heart attack or a heart trouble, you will not even check his vital stats. So when I got started getting messages to check his vital stat, I called the crew. I said, I have to check his BP, I have to check his oxygen. So they asked me, who's telling you all this? So I told them, I said, see, because you are not helping me in any way. I talked to doctors back home. My husband talked to doctor, my sister, and my cardiologist cousin. All three are saying that you have to take the vital stats. That
Right.
point of time, they got the SpO2, like finger monitor. And that time, my dad's oxygen was 97. It was good. And pulse was also good. And then I asked him to bring the BP monitor. What she told me, the air hostess, she said that we have a BP monitor. It is a mercury BP monitor, and we don't know how to operate it. So I said, my God, man, I said, you are a first aid trainer. You are carrying a mercury BP monitor. And why on earth are you carrying a mercury BP monitor when you don't even know how to operate it? They had no answer. And then I wrote the same messages to my like doctors back home, and my husband and my sister, who was again chatting with the doctor. So they are saying, you have to take his BP. So at that time, again, I went back to my mom-in-law and I got a digital BP monitor that I had in my cabin luggage. That again I was carrying for my mom-in-law. I took his BP. That time his BP was 68 on 41. It was that low. Yes. And he was like shivering. He was feeling extreme cold. And and then I was like so panicky. I wrote a message to my sister. I said, that's his BP, it's 68 on 41. You tell me, what should I do now? And then they are all saying, you have to ask them to divert the flight. I said, they are not. I said, I cannot argue with them. You have to tell me what to do now. And my dad, he's calling me and he's saying, Shalu, you come here, I'm feeling cold. I'm like, he's coming in and out of consciousness. So, the doctors told me that you have to start giving him like liquids, and you have to raise his legs, like you have to elevate his legs so that, the blood goes to the heart. So at that point of time, I elevated his legs, and all this time, when like the crew, they were busy because this was again uh, like how many hours? Maybe 4 or 5 hours ahead. So the crew was getting ready to serve other snacks and all. So they were passing by and they were seeing that I'm nursing my dad. Never did they ask me that why you are elevating his legs, why you are covering him. Never they asked me at that point. So I was doing this all with myself, alone. And then then my dad was feeling so cold, so the extra blanket that I had, I put on him. Then the air hostess came to me and she said, why are you covering your dad like that? I said, I'm covering my dad because he is so cold. Can't you see that he is shivering? And then she's saying, oh my god, you have a BP monitor on you and you were asking. I said, this is a digital BP monitor, and I took it out when you said no to me, that you don't even know how to use the mercury BP monitor that you are carrying. And
Mm-hmm.
then, like, I don't know what she meant by saying that. Maybe she was like they did not have a BP monitor on them and they were just making an excuse. I still don't know. And that and then I asked her, because my dad is having a very low BP, and all doctors back home are saying that you give him ORS, sorry. So
Yeah.
they are saying, what is ORS? So I said it is electrolyte that I have to give my dad, because his BP is going very low. What she said to me, we have no electrolytes on plane. Those were her words.
Could they not simply mix salt and sugar and water and give it
Yeah,
to him?
I told them that. I said, then I wrote to the, like, I told, like, they have no electrolyte. Then they are saying, then give him juices. I told that, I need juices for my dad. What she said, she said, no, we cannot give juices. Your dad is throwing up. I said, throwing up is not that important because his BP is going down. All my doctors are suggesting. So she's saying, who are those doctors? I said, the doctors with whom I'm texting. They did not give me juices. Secretly, I went to the pantry. Yes, they were like, the initial time when they held me in the bathroom, when they held my dad under and they transferred him to signature class cabin. That is the only help that I received from them. And, giving him 3 Tylenol. After that, it was just me and my dad. And then I went to the pantry. I secretly got 2 cups of juice. I said, because they were not at the pantry that time, and I wanted to give him juice. I thought, if I bring again, they will stop me from bringing the juice also. And I got sachets of sugar and salt, and I mixed and I started giving it to my dad. And then third, when the juices were finished, again, I went to the pantry. That time he said, no, you cannot come here. There was an air hostess. There was a steward there. So
Okay.
that time, I made an excuse. I called the bell. I said, see, I am very, very tired and I am not going to faint now. So you please give me lime juice mixed with water. So she got lime juice mixed with warm water with sugar and salt for me. That I secretly gave to my dad again, in between. And at this point of time, my mom-in-law, who was just 3 seats away, she came, just to see, like, why, like, what is happening. And she came because she was herself tense. What is happening? and she fell right there because she lost her balance. And that point of time, I was so much, I thought that I'm going to lose it now, because if something happens to her and my dad needs my care, what will I do? I thought I'm going to pass out at this time. So I held her up, and I just made her go sit at the seat. I said, please, you don't come, because I'm going to come whenever he's in a better state. I will come back to you and I will tell, like, how, what his state is.
Right. So during all of this, you explained clearly how initially you were given help. They supported you,
Yes.
but later on, maybe when they saw that the situation was serious, they did not want
Yes,
a
the
liability.
situation was serious,
Mm-hmm.
and I
But
think
when the announcement was also made, did you get any concerns, any questions from any of the passengers?
no, not even single passenger came, I'm telling you. I don't know. See, because I was in such a state that I was lost between arguing with them and, catering to my dad's need. And later on, I understood that there is no point talking to this crew because they are not, and they told me that if go to the pilot, because I told that, I will go to the pilot, you take me to the pilot and I will talk to. That was during the initial 1.5 hours when they said no to me. They said to me, if you are gonna do that, we will put you at the back of the aircraft. So I was really very panicky that time. I said, if they're gonna put me at the back of the aircraft, who's gonna take care of my dad? My mom-in-law can't do it.
How can they do
So
that?
I have no idea how can they do that. I mean, it was such a harrowing experience, so much, and and it was like, and if they were first aid trainers, they had nothing on them. They never, like, not even one suggested that they will take vitals, and they told me that we don't know how to check mercury, like
Right.
BP on mercury,
Yeah.
BP
So,
monitor.
Shan,
So
here
maybe,
now I
they never had a BP monitor on them. This can also be true. One of the passengers, when my dad was being nursed by me, he was taking a video, you know, because like passengers, they try to record things. So the air hostess, I remember, she told him that, what are you doing? Are you taking a video? Because maybe now I understand, maybe she was scared, that he will take a video and he will post it. And now, and when after all this episode, when I was discussing it with people, they are saying, why you didn't take picture of your dad, why you didn't take a video? I said, are you crazy? I'm looking at my ailing dad who is calling out my name, and you are expecting me to take pictures and video at that time? you know
and if I can take this forward to the moment when you landed in Montreal, what happened there?
so when we landed, yeah, so this whole episode went for, say, 9 hours. Initially 2 hours they were there. I told you he was in the bathroom, then he was being shifted, and then I was arguing with them constantly. And yeah, and when I was doing WhatsApp messages, because I was constantly doing typing, so my hands were so tired. So I was doing, what do you say,
Those
voice
audio
messages.
messages, right?
So that time also the air hostess came on top of my head, you know and she said, if you do, what are you doing? She thought that I'm making video because I was talking. So I said, I'm doing text messages. So she's saying, you are not allowed to use your voice, you're just allowed to use your hand. Why I'm telling you all this? Because they were scared. Now I when I put two and two together, so that's what they think. And see, I'll come back to that Montreal thing later. I want to add two three things more here, what how they did. And then, because doctors back home were asking me to constantly take readings of his, like, SpO2 and his, what do you say, BP. So second time when I took his reading of SpO2, it was 93. And you know what the air hostess told me? That your dad reading is 93, and she put it on me. She's saying yours is 95, and he's like, you are much younger than him. So you need to take care of you. So that time I really lost it. I said, I want you to put oxygen on my dad right now. You don't bother about what my reading is. I am perfectly fine. Look at his condition. He needs it more than me. You don't have to. I was really aggressive that time. So she did put oxygen. And she told me that, but if you, like if you do that again, I'm gonna again put you at the back because you are hovering over your dad. I said, what do you mean by saying that I'm hovering over my dad? Don't you see that he's calling out my name? Don't you see what state he in? He needs my support. There is nobody for my support. And that point of time, what they did? They put me at the back seat where my mom-in-law is, one of the air hostesses, and she stood on my father. She said, I am here. I am going to monitor him till the time he gets oxygen. She put me at the back. But again, I sat there only for 5 to 7 minutes because in my heart, I wanted to be with my dad. And I said, see, okay, I promise you, I will not hover over him. I will sit on the seat, but I will keep a check on him. You just see the kind of harassment that I was facing, and you see the condition of my dad. He's like sinking in front of me. And then when I put an extra blanket, again I put an extra blanket. She removed that blanket from top of him. I said, why are you removing the blanket? Because I was, losing it. After a point of time, there was like constant no for everything and constant harassment. She's saying, he's gonna choke. I said, how is he gonna choke? His blanket is till his chin, and don't you see he's shivering? His BP is so low. You have to let him, like cover him. So that point of time, I again went to the cabin, baggage. I removed one like jacket that he was wearing. I made him like wear a jacket that he was carrying. This is just like 25 or 30 minutes before landing. So and then when the planes landed, then at that time I asked my dad, because when the plane landed, I asked my dad, are you feeling cold now? So he said those were my last words with him. He said, no, I'm not feeling cold now, because they had switched off the AC and everything. The All the like connections were off. The plane was already on ground. So that time he said, I'm feeling okay. So I said, dad, and even I thought, I thought now, because he's struggled for 9 hours and he has pulled it through. So now the paramedics are here, and now he's gonna survive. So at that point of time, I told him, I said, Baba, and I used to call him Baba. I said, Baba, you will be okay. You will be fine now because the paramedics have come. So he was like, because he was in and out of consciousness, he's saying, who paramedics, where we are. I said, okay, fine. I said, okay, fine. I just didn't talk about it. I said, because then he will be demoralized. And that point of time, when the plane stopped, for 2 to 3 minutes, the paramedics didn't come. I rushed to the front of the aircraft, and there was a new air hostess whom I'd never seen before the plane in the last night. I asked, where are the paramedics? And that time they had made an emergency that, we will not deboard the plane first, because first the paramedics will come. There is an emergency on board. They had made at the time of landing. But the paramedics didn't come for good 3-4 minutes. So I rushed to the front of the aircraft. The air hostess was so rude to me. She's saying, what if the air paramedics have not come? If they are not coming from the front of the aircraft, they will come from the back of the aircraft. I was like, I said, I mean, what is this, man? Like, the whole 9 hours you have let him suffer. Now, when the paramedics should come just as once, again there is a delay. And at this time, the passengers, because they won't listen, they had started deboarding the plane from one side.
Oh.
Yeah, just see their lapses. I'm telling you. And then paramedics came, and then because my dad was lying down, and they made him sit on the cab on that seat. At that time, he suffered another heart attack right in front of me, and then he was gone. I just saw it with my own eyes. And then they put him on the aisle where they put him, and they started pumping him, and giving him all that CPR. But I told them, and the police had also come, because I think with paramedics, police also comes. And then they are saying, I said, what are you guys doing? I said, he's gone. It's just an eye wash. That time, because I was getting so hysterical, then they pushed me. They not pushed me. They said, you go sit at the back. Let us do our job. Let us do our job. Then I went and said to my mom-in-law, and I said, he's no more. He's gone. Because I was like able to hear that beep also. It becomes straight in that machine. At that point of time, that crew, that 4 people who were like with harassing me, and who they came to me, and they started patting me, like, we saw you with your dad, you were nursing him, you did your best. I said, you get out of here now. You told me that it is not a life threatening emergency, that's why you did not land the plane, and now you have the guts to say me, see what you have done. So they had nothing to say. They sheepishly went from there, sheepishly.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, so this is what happened. And look, my that this is the picture of my dad. He was so happy, like, so, and with everything I had packed for him, like when he was coming here on PR, his suitcase, every piece of cloth, everything I packed with my own hands.
I am truly at a loss of words. Uh, I cannot even begin to say, or it'll be unjustified for me to say I understand what you're feeling because I truly can't. Loss of a parent itself is so painful, and what you went through, it's unimaginable. I really have to admire your courage here. With so much courage, you've opened your heart to us. You've shared
Yeah.
the excruciatingly painful story. Um, but people watching you right now. So, Shanu, I really want to ask you now, what is it that you want? The loss of the parent, it cannot be justified with any word, with any amount of condolences. It just leaves a void that no one can fill. But what your father went through is so painful. You definitely need an
Yeah,
answer as to why it happened. So, what are
you
your
know,
steps ahead?
yeah. See, I have written to Air Canada. Me and my husband, we spoke to Air Canada. We got a call from them, but they are just, talking through their paralegal, through their lawyer. They don't want to talk to us directly. And I just requested the paralegal, whoever the person is. He said, I said that, I want to meet the crew, and whoever was responsible for not diverting the flight, I want to meet them in person. I want to look them in the eye, and I want to ask them, like, why you did not divert the flight that day. What was the reason? Because I feel, and I think I'm 100% true, that it was purely driven by commercial aspect, because costing, it would have, costed them thousands of dollars to land a flight, and versus, so it was, saving their dollars versus saving a human life. And I just say that, heart attack can happen to anyone, it can happen to me, it can happen to anyone on the flight. But are should we denied, like, should we be denied the basic medical help? And they deemed that it was not, that's what their words were, we are not diverting the flight because it is not a medical emergency. Was it not a medical emergency? What they have done, every night I am traumatized with the events. It's been 1.5 months today, and every night, the whole episode plays in my mind. I was like, I talked to a doctor back home because I was so guilt stricken. I said that why I, took my dad, why I did not go to the pilot and banged his cockpit door that day. I should have done that. I would should have created a ruckus in the flight. But my doctor said, you don't have to feel guilt stricken, because at 40,000 feet you couldn't have done more than that. And I was doing it single handedly for 7 hours. Two
Yes.
hours I said that got support from them. But what was that support? Now I get an email from them that, we have shifted your dad to a signature class cabin. We requested you to eat aspirin to him, give aspirin to him, and we asked you to elevate his leg. It's a complete lie. They did ask him for aspirin, but I did not give. I'm telling you, because he was allergic to it, but he had already eaten sorbitrate, which is a better medicine than it. And I myself elevated his legs. They never asked me to do,
Mm-hmm.
after getting advice from doctors back home. So I just wanted to ask the crew, why would they do the same if they suffered a heart attack? I told them that, next time when you suffer a heart attack, you also pop an aspirin, you also elevate your legs, and you just lie on a flat bed for 9 hours and then call help, like they did it to my dad. This is what I want to ask them. And I want all that person who was responsible that day to be fired. This is what I asked Air Canada lawyer that day. But they clearly said no. They gave me an email saying that no, we cannot do that. So I want to know the reason, why you did not divert the flight. That is what. Because if I get an answer, like if I get an answer that satisfies me, then okay, then I'm good.
So
Because
that
I
this
feel that,
raises, yes,
sorry,
go ahead, yes.
because I feel if it is not driven by commercial reason, then it is racism. And I'm very openly saying that. What is the reason otherwise? Why don't you come out and open?
Hmm.
And you should give an apology. I know it's not going to bring my dad back, but at least you will not do this to any other person. You will, you should shudder in their bones. This is what I want. They should feel ashamed in their bones at what they did.
An apology is the least you deserve right
Yeah,
now. You rightly said it. Nothing can bring your father back, but an
nothing
apology
can
is
bring
the
my
least
father
you
back.
deserve. And if if his death could bring a reason, a norm, a
Exactly.
protocol for the others, if his passing away can be an example,
That's what,
because like you
that
rightly
then
said, it can
then
happen to
I will
anyone.
be
And
little satisfied. Yeah, I mean, what satisfied? I will think that, I will be little less guilt stricken in my heart, and I'll be little, I feel that, something I have done for my dad, something at least. So this is the least that I'm asking them. But I don't know whether they will come out in open, because that takes a lot of guts to, accept your mistake.
Shanu, to all those who are watching this right now, what is going to be your message to them?
Right now my message is, don't fly with this airlines, because this can happen with anyone. Whether, a person is old, a young person, newly born, everybody has a right to live. You cannot deny the basic medical, like giving a medical treatment to a person who is facing a life threatening emergency. So, my message is, don't fly Air Canada. This is all what I can say, because you could be the next one. And I've heard there are other airlines like Emirates and all. My friends have told me that if there is a medical emergency, they divert the flight. You are just, they are just a money minting airlines, nothing else. They suck money out of you. As I told you, we paid more than $1,500 for one seat one way.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my only thing. What else can I say?
But Shanu, we are here with you.
Thank
We
you
will
for having
raise,
me, and thank you for spreading this awareness, because this is the least that I can do for my father.
it's not my place though, but I will still say you did everything you could in your power. You did everything. And your father is proud of you, still showering his blessings upon you. And you are standing here bravely raising your voice so your father can get the justice he deserves. We are here with you. Thank
Thank
you
you for
so
having
much
me.
for talking to us.
Thank you. Thank you.
The news and views continue on Y Media U. Stay tuned with us. Thanks for watching.